The topic today is how to be an awesome networker. So I just want to start out by sharing my opinion that I think networking is one of the best lead generation methods or tools that you have. In all of the businesses that I've been involved in, we've dealt a lot with phone prospecting, cold calling, and people often say, does that work? And I often will say, it does, and it should be part of your mix. If I were a salesperson or a business owner, I would probably primarily or at first focus on networking and then augment that with some element of phone prospecting, outbound cold calling. So we're here today to talk about small things you can do to change when you are networking. Here's our agenda for today. What I want to focus on are starting out talking about some mindset changes, then talking a little bit about what you can do to get out there and do more networking. We're going to talk about building your pitch. I think that when a lot of people think about their sales pitch, they think about what they say when they're cold calling or what they say when they deliver a presentation. But you have a pitch when you're networking. So we'll talk about how you can have the best pitch. We'll talk a little bit about working a room, navigating conversations, some key things that you should do right after you attend a networking event, some things you can do when meeting one-on-one with contacts that you meet, and how to stay top of mind when you're with people that you meet networking. So let's just jump right in and start with talking about some key things regarding your mindset when you're networking. What I would like you to do is kind of shift your mindset from one of picking fruit and transition more to one of planting seeds. And if we just actually kind of stay with that metaphor real quick, if you picture yourself in out in a field picking fruit off of a plantation or an orchard, picture yourself with a basket and you're looking at the fruit and you're looking for which fruit is ready to be pulled off the tree and put in your basket. And when you leave and end that process, you're going to look down in your basket and you're going to say, well, either that was a good harvest or effort, or that was productive, or you'll look down and see not much fruit and think, well, that wasn't real good. And then if you flip that to what someone might do when they're planting the seeds for those trees or plants, they're not thinking that. They have a bunch of seeds and they lay them down, and they're not really worried about which seeds are going to sprout and grow. They just plant the seeds and give them and nurture them and have the confidence that one day those efforts will bear fruit, literally. And so applying that to networking and really sales in general is that when you go to a networking event, it can be very easy for you to walk in with the picking fruit mindset. You have a product to sell, you have a quota to hit, you have money that you want to make. And so you see a bunch of people and you're thinking, okay, who can I go sell to? So you're looking for that fruit to pick, and then when you leave the event, you might think to yourself, wow, I don't think I got any leads, and I don't, so that was a waste of my time. And I'd like you to shift that more towards planting seeds, which would be building relationships and not really leaving the event thinking, okay, what deals did I find, but more thinking, okay, what relationships did I start? What can I start to nurture that will lead to something down the road? The other thing that I would say for you to shift from is, instead of looking for prospects, start to look for partners. And partners would be referral partners. So a prospect is someone that would potentially buy from you. A referral partner is someone that probably wouldn't maybe never buy from you and you would never sell to. A referral partner is someone who will refer prospects to you. And so I would want you to kind of shift your mindset to this when you're talking to people, when you're at an event. And this will do a couple things. One is, first of all, if you talk to someone more as them maybe being a referral partner versus a prospect, you might have a better pitch. You might seem a little less salesy. You might foster a better relationship. You might make a better impression. So that's all good stuff. But another thing that's really powerful about this is that a referral partner is it's like a tree that going back to the fruit analogy, but a referral partner is like the tree that continues to bear fruit and multiple pieces of fruit, and you pick fruit off the tree and the fruit grows back, meaning a referral partner, you think about how many people the person you're talking to, the person that you meet, how many people they know. And that could be a lot more prospects than when just trying to sell that person individually. So you could actually be more efficient by finding a team of referral partners than finding the same amount of prospects of the individuals that you find as referral partners. So I think that's a really good mindset shift. The last mindset concept I want to share with you is the rule of reciprocity. So I'll just read this to you real quick. But in social psychology, reciprocity is a social rule that says people should repay in kind what another person has provided them. That is, people give back the kind of treatment that they've received from another. So if you apply this to people that you are networking with, you can, if you believe in this social psychology concept or theory, then you can apply this to networking to say, if you do something good for someone else, then they might return the favor and do something good to you. So let's apply that to referral partners. If you introduce someone to some that might end up being a prospect or might end up giving them a job or basically a good introduction for them, then they will be motivated to introduce you to someone. And it could be just that simple of an exchange where people make introductions for you for where you've made introductions. But it might not be an exact one-for-one. You could introduce someone to someone and then they end up inviting you to another event. So it might not be one-for-one. The other thing is that not everybody might follow along with this rule, in that not everybody that you do something good for is going to for sure do something good for you. But if you start to live your life like this, I mean, I think it's great to go about your business when you're networking like this, but it's a great way to live your life as well. But if you just sort of treat everybody in this way, then eventually some percentage of those people that you help are going to end up helping you. And applying this to actually building relationships with referral partners, this is where you begin to foster that network of people out there working for you, bringing business to you. And again, this is also more in line with the concept of planting seeds, right? Which is you plant a bunch of seeds. So here you meet a bunch of people and you try to help a bunch of people, and you nurture and water those seeds and nurture and water those relationships, or feed into those relationships, and then that bears fruit down the road. Moving on, none of those mindset changes will do you much good, or in fact, everything we talk about here today won't do you much good if you don't get out there and network. What I will admit to, and I've felt this before, is that networking can either be something that can be a hassle or it could be uncomfortable, meaning either it's something that's done at the end of a day and you've been working all day, or you may have a level of anxiety with networking. So the thought of going out and being with a bunch of people you don't know might make you feel uncomfortable. So whether those things pop up for you or something else, it can be easy to think of a reason why to not go network. There might be an event and you can easily think of an excuse to stay home or to do something else. So one thing that I would suggest you do is to help with that and to sort of minimize that self-talk that talks you out of going to events, is to set a quota for yourself. And so this is, I'm going to attend this number of events during a certain period of time, and have that as a goal and a guideline for yourself, so that when you start to feel like not going, you think to yourself, oh, well, I have to at least go to one event this week. And the quota is different according to the type of business you're in or the type of life you have or whatever. For some people, it might be going to an event per day, or one event per week, or 2 events per week, whatever. So, look at your life or your business, or how many leads you need, or how much time you have available to determine that. Regardless of how much you want to network, there is enough events for you to go to. If you want to go to something every day of the week, there is something out there for you. I guess I should say that if you live in sort of a major city. I mean, I guess if you live in a smaller town, that might not be the case. But any major city, there's something going on every day of the week, even on the weekends. Here are some resources you can think about. So industry associations, so whatever industry you fall under, look for those. Look in your local newspaper or local news resources for events. What's become a great place to find networking events is meetup.com. If you're not familiar with that, It's a website that basically has all sorts of different groups and events, and it's real easy to find stuff that's going on in your area. And you can find business activities and industry stuff on meetup.com very easily. So that might be one of the best places for you to go to figure out what's going on in your area today or this week. Check out any alumni associations you belong to, or for schools that are in your area, or check out some universities in your area for events. And the last one here is there's also lots of different charity or volunteer organizations that have events going on. Well, if you look at the top bullet being industry associations, you might think of those being really the key places where you want to go network because it's just so related to your business. The reality is that you can network at really any event that exposes you to new people, and the event can have absolutely nothing to do with the product you sell or the industry you feed into or whatever. One of the reasons why is because, remember, we're not looking for prospects, we're looking for referral partners. So you could be at a wedding for someone and actually kind of turn on your networking gear, build a relationship with someone that you might end up exchanging contacts or helping to make introductions with. And so that can definitely be done at while you're volunteering or whatnot. So something to think about. Now, before I kind of talk about working the room and managing conversations, let's sort of take a step back and help you to think about what you say and building your pitch. What most salespeople probably do is they don't do this step of kind of stopping to think about their pitch. They just go out there and go to an event and go wing it. And I'll show you right here on this slide what that ends up looking like. They end up shaking hands and meeting someone at an event, and that person might say, "Oh, well, what do you do?" By the way, which is probably the most common question asked at an event. So if you're going to prepare at all for a question, you might want to think about that one. And so a salesperson might say something like, "Oh, I sell engineering software," or "Oh, I work for Engineering Soft," or I'm a software salesperson, right? So that's what they'll say. They'll basically say either what they sell or what they do or what their role is. And there's a couple things that I don't like about that. And one is, first of all, it doesn't tell the other person much, right? So you might sell engineering software and you might know what it does and how it helps and who uses it. But when you just say, "I sell engineering software," it doesn't tell the other person a lot. And they don't know, they're an outsider to your business. It also doesn't make them curious. It doesn't really open up a pathway for more discussion. It's just kind of boring. And the worst thing about any of these answers is that this is what 95% of people do. So if you just want to look like everybody else, do this, But I personally think that standing out and either being above or different than everybody else, above from a standpoint of, operating at a more effective and professional level, not above from a class standpoint. But if you want to perform at a higher level, then I'm going to show you how to do that. But going back to why people kind of have, actually, if I go back here, this is more in line with kind of a product pitch. A product pitch is, I'm going to talk to you about my company and I'm going to talk to you about my product, and that's really my pitch. And so the reason why most salespeople have a product pitch is that it's kind of what we're trained to do. And whether or not you work for yourself or if you work for a company, you've been trained to do this, most likely. And if you work for yourself, you've kind of trained yourself to do this. But if you think about getting hired by a company, they'll train you on, this is the company that you work for now in our history. These are the products that we sell. This is what the products do and how they work. This is the pricing and how everything can be sold. These are the benefits that the products offer, which that's actually the best piece here. But it kind of gets smothered by all this other stuff, by the way. And so that becomes the foundation of knowledge for a salesperson. And then when they're out networking or on the phone or writing emails or whatever, whenever they're talking to a prospect or a referral partner, they rely on this knowledge, and they, what do you do? And they talk about their product. And so I personally think there's a better way. And instead of having a product pitch, you can have a consultative selling pitch. And what we'll talk about here can impact your cold calling or when you're talking to prospects, but it can also make you a much better networker. And I'll just clearly demonstrate what that looks like. But instead of really, focusing on the product that we sell, let's take a step back or forward or whatever. Let's take a step away from the product and think about what is the value and benefits that that product offers. And then we can take that one step further to think, well, if we create these improvements for someone, what are the problems that helps to fix? Sometimes I use a very simple example talking about selling a gym membership to someone because it's sort of something that maybe a lot of people can relate to. But if you were to if I was to try to sign you up for a gym membership, I've never sold gym memberships, by the way, but just trying to think of an example. And I were to say, some of the things that this can help with is it can make you, it can help you to become healthier, to lose weight, become more attractive, become happier. Those are benefits. Instead of talking about the gym workout facility and all the machines and the spa and whatnot, let me talk about all these improvements I'm going to make to your life. And so you can connect those improvements with problems that could exist or could be resolved. So if I help you to become healthier, some challenges that some people might have is that they're not eating right. They don't feel like they're overweight. They don't think they're attractive. They don't have energy. They might be getting sick more often. So for each of those benefits, you can think of common pain points that are related. And so we also, in your consultative selling pitch, at the core of it, it should be asking good questions. A consultant asks good questions. So we have this qualify sort of pillar here, which is basically asking qualifying questions. And good qualifying questions to ask could be questions to determine if the prospect has any of those pain points. And then how to build interest really powerfully and efficiently in a few just key words and key statements. Building credibility, preparing for objections. So this is an alternate path, and what we recommend is you organize your thoughts and get your ducks in a row in these key areas, and then that becomes your foundation of knowledge. So then when you're out there talking with prospects, when you're networking, you sound more professional, and like I said, I'll demonstrate what that looks like. But if you do want to organize your thoughts in those categories and think about your benefits and the problems you fix and the questions to ask, you can do that in an Excel spreadsheet or on a piece of paper or whatnot. Sales Scripter will actually help you to organize your thoughts. It's going to actually take you through a process that you can organize it's going to extract the key benefits from your head and help you to kind of brainstorm the benefits and the problems and the questions you should ask and whatnot. This is actually an extraction of one of my scripts that I've created in Sales Scripter for how we help salespeople. You see here some value statement options that list out the benefits that one of my products offers, and then some of the common problems that product helps to resolve, and some questions to ask. And I'm just going to not go into this slide in more detail for now. I just want to show you that when you organize your thoughts, or you either do it on your own or you do it through Sales Scripter, this is what you might end up with. We're going to get to how you would use this type of stuff when you're networking in a minute. Let's move on now to talking about working a room. I would want you, or something that I do is I try to go to a networking event or any kind of event, whatever, when it starts. I think that a lot of people, and they apply this to something social or business, but I think a lot of people, the majority of people, quite frankly, will not want to go to an event early or on time. They want to be fashionably late, right? I personally think getting to an event, and even if you're the first few people there, that's great. And from a networking standpoint, you can use that to your advantage. So first of all, you get to the event when it starts. Well, it might not be real crowded at the entry or where you check in. You might be able to actually meet and talk to some of the hosts or people running the event. Those are great people to network with for a number of reasons. And then you enter the event, and odds are there might be people that haven't started conversations with anybody. There might just be a few other punctual people that are on time, which are very easy people to walk right up to start to network with. And then as people come in, think about if you've met all the early people, because it's real easy to meet people in the early time. then other people walk in and you already know everybody. You're actually, one of the senior people there from a social status standpoint because you know everybody. And then people are coming in and you're already surrounded by people that know you, and you can almost kind of take on a host role. So, well, I won't go into that in more detail. Just I think it really is a dynamic that you can use to your advantage. From there, or regardless of what time you end up getting there, uh, you're going to be at a place where, or at a time where you're going to need to go and introduce yourself and make new contacts, right? So, one place to warm up is you're going to see people that are standing alone. They might be eating something or looking at their phone or whatever, and so those are real easy people, like I said, to walk up to and introduce yourself to. Some caution there is that there might be a reason why they're not talking to anybody. So you might be prepared for either they might not be very socially not have great social skills, meaning you'll have to carry the conversation a little bit more, or they might be uncomfortable or nervous where they're at. Maybe you could help them to calm down, feel more comfortable, and you're kind of helping them from that standpoint. But anyways, sometimes the key people you want to talk to are actually not standing alone. Whether those are high value targets. In terms of good referral partners or executives or whoever. But so another thing you can do to sort of end up talking to people is kind of post up in high traffic areas, whether that's near the bar or near the coffee refreshments area. Sometimes you can kind of loiter on your own, and you're going to have people passing by or people that just bought their drink or just are filling up their coffee, and that's a real easy place to introduce yourself. Hey, how's it going? And whatnot. So the more challenging thing is and this is what happens if you get to an event where it's already established, is that the majority of people are in conversations. That's a more challenging situation because people are talking. You can just barge your way into conversations. People are talking and you walk right up, and I would say 50% of the time they will see you walk up and they're going to stop talking, and they will, there will be a place there for you to say, hey, how are you guys doing? Or they'll say, hey, how are you doing? They'll invite you into the conversation. And I would say another half of the time, or maybe 40% of the time, they're just going to keep talking to one another. You might walk up to like a group or a couple people and they don't even acknowledge you, and then you're just standing there, and you either walk away or you force yourself into the conversation. So I'm going to show you some slides on a process you can use for breaking into conversations here on the next slide. But the last thing I'll say on this is don't judge a book by its cover. So you don't look at someone and go, oh, they're not worth my time. You'd be surprised. You never know. Just because you should apply this to your life, really, but you never know what role they have or how influential they are in a particular area. Just network with everybody while you're there, and try to meet as many people as you can. But now let's get back to breaking into conversations. So I actually recommend that you use a little bit of caution when you walk up to two or more people that are talking, because you don't know what they're talking about, and you don't want to interrupt something that's really private or important. Meaning, most of the time, the people that are at an event and they're talking, most of the time they just met. They don't know each other. They're just jibber jabbering. It's not important. You're not going to interrupt anything, and they might even welcome your addition to the conversation. So that's most of the time. But there could be some times where they know each other. They went there together, or they're business partners, or whatever, or they're working on a deal. It's someone who is a salesperson and he just found a key prospect. Either way, there are some times where you might be an interruption and you might not be welcome. So you don't want to sit there and force your way into a conversation and cut off someone who's working a deal. This process here, I think, it provides you with permission, and it gives you a process that you can go through to work your way into conversations. But when you see like two or more people talking, you can walk up, and the step one is sort of apology and explanation. So they're talking, and you walk up and you can interrupt them. You can say, hey guys. And by the way, I think you can interrupt them with this process because of the way it works. Let me demonstrate that. So, hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to meet most of the people here, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you all real quickly. feel free to change "Hey guys" to whatever you're comfortable with or whatever's appropriate. But so this is just a quick, and you're basically just getting in there real quick, and you're stating that you're going to be real quick. So now you introduce yourself. So look to the contact that's closest to you, and you basically just say, "Hey, I'm Michael Halper. Extend your hand for a handshake." Then they're going to respond with their name and shake your hand, and then you can ask, "Who are you with?" And I actually would say to you to ask, "Who are you with?" instead of saying, "What do you do?" because it's a quicker response. They can say, "Oh, I'm with GE," or instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a mechanical blah blah blah." So it's a quicker answer, and then you can say, "Great." And then you look to the other contact, and you can introduce yourself again. "Hey, and you say your name again, extend your hand. They'll shake your hand, then they'll say their name, and then you can say, "Who are you with?" And then again, saying this instead of what they do. Now at this point, you can basically at this point you can pause real quick, and then they're either going to ask you, "Who are you with?" or "What do you do?" And when they do that, that's the invitation for you to be part of their little circle. And or they're going to stand there and look at you. And so at this point, if they're not asking you questions or sort of inviting you in, you can then say, "Hey, well, it was nice to meet both of you. And again, I apologize for the interruption." And at this point, you can sort of start to rock your body, like leaning out to where you're about to walk away. And again, at this point, either they're gonna sense that you're wanting to talk to them, but you're not wanting to be an interruption. And then they'll either, if they realize that you're not interrupting anything and you're being a little overcautious, then they're going to say, "Hey, well, no, what do you do?" And they're going to bring you into the conversation. Or if they are talking about something and you were an interruption, but a real quick interruption, they're going to, accept your apology and let you walk off, and then you move on to the next group. So, take from that process whatever you like, but it's something to help, because you could be at an event and it's like everybody's coupled up, and if you don't have a way or a process or confidence to break into any conversation, you can be just there standing alone. Which there's nothing wrong with there standing alone. In fact, typically when that's the case, someone might end up walking over and talking to you. But like I said, you probably don't want to necessarily spend your whole time at a networking event talking to the people that are alone and not talking to anyone. You can still be productive, you could still plant those seeds, but there's just something about that dynamic that is going to decrease your productivity in terms of the quality of individuals you're networking with. Once we do get into these conversations, whether it's with one person or a group, let's talk a little bit about navigating those conversations. So I want to show you this slide, which we end up showing a lot, which is the process that you might take a prospect through. And while this process is designed for talking to prospects, it totally converts exactly one-to-one to talking to referral partners. So let's just kind of walk through this. When you first meet someone, you have this initial contact, and so that could either be a cold call or it could be talking to someone at an event. And so during that first contact, if they're a prospect, you probably want to pre-qualify them, which is asking them questions to learn about any challenges they're having or if you might be a good fit for them. Now, we're not trying to, when we meet people at events, we're not trying to qualify them because they're referral partners. So, but remember, we do have the rule of reciprocity. So we do want to still ask them questions. And you'll notice in the gray box here, it says 80% on the prospect, 20% on you. So that still applies. 80% of the initial contact we want on the referral partner, because we're wanting to make it all about them and learn about them. And so the next step in the process when you're dealing with a prospect would be to schedule an appointment. And that's where you might want to ask more qualifying questions and learn more and build interest and maybe drive them to the next stage, which is scheduling a presentation and whatnot. So the appointment step still works when you're dealing with referral partners and networking, because this is where you're going to have more time to build that relationship with that potential referral partner. So it's still a goal that you have, just like when you might cold call a prospect. When you meet a referral partner while networking, you still kind of have that goal of appointment. You might not call it an appointment. You might call it meeting over coffee or getting back together, you know. But it's kind of the same thing, and the only thing that you do is instead of asking maybe your pre-qualifying questions, you're just going to ask more questions about what they do. The questions might be slightly different, but this process is exactly the same. And so applying that to our conversation that we have at a networking event, we want you to make it all about the other person. What can happen a lot is someone asks you what you do. And if you sit there and answer all their questions, you're going to find yourself at a networking event where you talked all about yourself. That can happen very easily. In fact, if you're networking and you're talking to people that are good networkers, you're going to actually see where you're going to try to make it about them and they're going to keep flipping it back to you. I've been in conversations where, you know, we were both like trying to pass the ball back, you know, back and forth. What you want to do, as much as you can control, is to keep the conversation mostly about them. So asking them questions. If they ask you what you do, you might give them a quick answer, but then, you know, shine the light back on them. While they're telling you and answering about what they do and answering your questions, try to think about a way that you can help them. And so one of the easiest ways to do this is as they're talking to you, start to think about someone you can introduce them to. That's what I do, and it's a great way to put a bunch of water on that seed. It's a great way to feed into that rule of reciprocity. At some point in that quick exchange, you do want to talk a little bit about you. Hopefully they're going to give you that opportunity. And I would say most even if they're a bad networker or whatever, at some point it's going to come back to you in terms of for you to talk about yourself. So you want to have a quick and powerful pitch that you can deliver that doesn't go into all this boring detail about what you sell or what you do. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, like in that process, you want to keep the conversation about 5 minutes. This is for a couple reasons. One is, remember, you have that goal of scheduling an appointment, or let's call it coffee or one-on-one. And if you don't necessarily want to get into this long 15-20 minute chat at a networking event, because that kind of steals the thunder from the meeting over coffee. But really the more important reason why you want to keep conversations to 5 minutes is because you want to work the room. The more contacts you can meet at a networking event, the more it's going to be worth your time. So if you talk to each person less and then move on to meet someone else, you're going to be more productive. You're going to generate more leads instead of talking to a couple people for a long period of time. And a good way to do this is you can very easily end up in a good conversation with someone where they're asking some good questions or they're talking about some stuff that's really good and you could keep going. But it's real easy to say, you know what, we're getting into some really good stuff here and I want to learn more about what you do. Or if they're asking you questions about you, you could say, you know, that's a really good question and I'd like to explain it to you in more detail. So why don't we chat on another day? I mean, I can either come by your office or we can meet over coffee, or I could give you we could schedule a call if you're extremely busy. So and then you exchange business cards and you move on and now you're meeting someone else. So that's a good way to navigate the conversation. Here are some networking questions that are just really good, get to know, probing questions. How's your day going so far? What do you do? How long have you been doing that? What did you do before? What do you like most about what you do? Is there something that motivated you to get into that type of work? Where are you from? What brought you to this event? Have you found this to be a productive event for you? Are there any other networking events you recommend? How can I help you to be successful? What does a good prospect look like for you? So some great questions there. It's not a complete list. If you were trying to stay within 5 minutes, you're not even going to get a chance to ask all of those. There should be something there that you can take and apply to your networking. So if you ask these questions, the prospect's going to be talking, right? You're going to be learning about them, and that's great. You're even just getting the prospect to talk and you showing interest in them, it feeds into the rule of reciprocity. Because if you show interest in them, then that is more likely to get someone to want to invest time showing interest in and being interested in you. So we're interested in them, and then at some point it's going to probably come back to you. Ideally it would be they're talking first and then it comes back to you, if you can control that. And so when it comes back to you, remember, this is the stuff that sales scripters spit out. So when someone says, "What do you do?" Okay, instead of me saying, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," or "I have a sales consulting business," or we have a sales scripting software app," right? That's a product. Those are all product pitch explanations. Instead of me doing that, let me share a value statement with someone. So let me just look at and see. I'm just looking here what's here. So someone says, "What do you do?" Oh, well, what we do is we help salespeople to have more success when cold calling and prospecting. Period. Right? Now, that doesn't necessarily say what I sell. It says how I help. And that is it's just a much more sophisticated way to communicate. Now, this can do a couple things. One is it communicates more effectively how I help people, right? So that says more than me saying I have a cold call scripting app. It also it can make the other person curious, like, "Oh, you do? Well, how do you do that?" They might ask you a question, and then you can start to get into some details of your product. And so how I might do that is you can say your value statement and then add a little bit of details of your product right after that. But whether they ask or you just do it automatically, I could say something like, "Well, we basically help salespeople to improve their ability to get into new accounts and generate new leads, and we do that through providing a sales prospecting application that someone uses when they're making calls and talking to prospects." So there I added some product details. Another way that you can communicate like what you do is by sharing the common problems. By the way, let me just pause real quick. This is what was produced by SalesScripter, and I'm not saying that you carry this around on a piece of paper and look at it when you're networking. I'm saying you use this to organize your thoughts, and then you might look at this before you go out networking and have it in your head. And after you've done that a couple times, you might not have to look at this again. But this is about organizing your thoughts. But you could use these common problems here to explain what you do. So someone asks me what I do. Well, I work a lot with sales professionals, and they often have some challenges with cold calling and prospecting. It can be difficult and seem like a waste of time, and it can often be really difficult for them to generate leads and get into new accounts. And so what we do is we basically provide a software application and services and training to help with those challenges. That's what I do. Again, that might leave some curiosity and leave some questions, and that's great if it does. They might, it presents you this opportunity for you to get more detail. Or it presents a question, and that provides an opportunity for you to schedule your one-on-one. They say, "Well, it's an app. How does your app help with cold calling?" Well, that's a good question, but I tell you, it's actually it'll take me a little bit to explain it, and it might even just be quicker if I show you real quick. Why don't I just pop by your office if you're curious, and I can actually show you a quick demo, and at that time I want to learn more about what you're doing and whatnot. So, and then you close for the one-on-one. You'll see the third section here are pre-qualifying questions. Those are more for prospects than referral partners. So those might not come up when you're at a networking event. If you start to think that the prospect is the potential contact is more of a prospect than a referral partner, you could throw some of these out there. You're talking to someone, "Hey, well, let me ask you real quick. How happy are you with your ability to generate leads or get your foot in the door of new clients?" So you get the other person talking. So it is a way. It's a very direct selling approach. So this is what you would use for talking to prospects. Now, you could tweak those questions to fit if you were like wanting to still sell through someone. So if someone was like, "Well, who is someone I could introduce you to?" They're asking you that. And then you might say something like, "Well, something that I might ask someone is how happy are they with their ability to generate leads or get their foot in the door of new clients?" So someone that would answer that question with a lot of concern is someone that would be a good contact for me. So if you know anybody that would have that issue, then that might be good. So that's navigating conversations when you're at events. Now you're going to work the room. You're going to have these great conversations. You're going to have a better pitch. Now you get home or to your office. It's time to take some steps. This is exactly what I do after a networking event. I sit down at my computer, and right in front of my keyboard, I pull out of my pocket my stack of business cards, and I just have them right in front of me. And what I'll do is I'll jump on LinkedIn. As I look at each card, I pull the person up on LinkedIn. If they're on LinkedIn, I send them an invitation to connect. I'll put the person into my CRM. I will send them a follow-up email saying, "Hey, nice to meet you." Anything specific to our conversation I might bring up. And if it's not everybody you meet is somebody that you want to spend your valuable time with. So in terms of meeting again, but for the people that I want to meet again, this email is a good time to say, "Hey, do you want to go ahead and put a brief, meeting on the calendar if you enclose for the meeting?" Then the last step that I'll take is I'll add the contact to an appropriate email drip campaign. And the keyword here is appropriate. If you're not using any email drip, email marketing software, that's a whole nother conversation, and I recommend you do it. But if you are, then this is a good place to add this contact. If you're using email drip campaign software or strategy correctly, you should have different email drip campaigns. So you might have one that's very aggressive, that sends out a lot of emails, and then one that is very passive, that's just every once in a while staying in touch and sending some helpful information. It's the more passive one that you would want to add your referral partners to. Because, by the way, I have a webinar on email drip campaigns, so if this topic right here is piquing your curiosity or you want to learn more, look for our email drip campaign creation webinar. But just to give you an example, if someone downloads an ebook of ours, you're going to get an email from us like every 2 or 3 days, because you're opting in and we're giving you an ebook and whatnot. You're expressing more interest. A referral partner does not need to be communicated with like that, but what you want to do is you want to stay fresh in the referral partner's mind so they don't forget about you. And so that's what the very passive, more spread out emails helps you to do. But this is the time to get them into that system. So like I said, you got the stack of cards. You go through each of these steps and then when you go through each step for a contact, you throw the card. I even throw the card away because I have all their information. So I throw their card away and I move to the next one. All right, meeting one-on-one. So let's go back to this process here. Now that's the appointment, right? But we could call it a one-on-one or a coffee or whatever. And we're going to do exactly what is said here, what we would do with a prospect. We're going to meet for 20 to 30 minutes. We want it to be half the time on the prospect and half the time on us. Preferably half the time is on the other person, but sometimes you can't control that. Here we have asking really good qualifying questions to a prospect. For a referral partner, again, it's going to be you learning about their business and learning about what they do. And so here are some tactics. Try to meet for coffee or go to your contact's office, or you could do it on the phone if that's what it has to be. The purpose of this meeting, and you can use this in your pitch, it's for you to learn about them, to see how you can help them. Right? So not only is that less salesy, it's in line with the rule of reciprocity, and it's in line with the planting seeds versus picking fruit. So again, try to get the first half of the meeting on you. Try to find ways to help them and ask good questions. Here are a few just kind of softball questions you can throw out there. Tell me more about what you do. How long have you been doing this? What did you do before? What do you like most about what you do? What does a good prospect look like for you? How can I help you to be successful? Getting back to this stuff, so this is that same, these are those same points. You can use these when you get to that second half of the meeting where you're talking about you. You can get into more detail on the different benefits you offer, the different problems you help to fix. Again, if you think that partner might end up being a prospect, you could come out and be more direct and ask them some of your pre-qualifying questions. And so that's what you can do when you're meeting one-on-one. And then the last step is staying top of mind. So this is staying top of mind or fresh in mind is important for both referral partners and prospects. I often talk a lot about with prospects, when you hear a no, a lot of times it's more no, not right now than no, never. And so they might think what you have is interesting, but they don't have budget or they don't need it right now. So you need a way to stay fresh in their mind. And it's kind of the same thing with referral partners, in that a referral partner may love what you do and you've helped them and they want to help you because you've helped them, or maybe just because they're a great person, right? But and they get what you do. But a problem you have with a referral partner is that they spend the majority of the day thinking about them and their products and selling their stuff. So even knowing you may have a great networking meeting where you're like, and I've had these before, by the way, where we're like, oh, I'm going to help you and you're going to help me and we're going to have this great relationship. And then even you might even sign like an affiliate agreement, where you're going to send leads over at a particular, commission rate or whatever. And then they end up going nowhere. They end up going nowhere because the two parties have this great verbal and or written agreement and vision, and then they go their separate ways, and that relationship is not watered, it's not nurtured, it's not kept connected, and you just forget about one another because you're busy doing your own stuff that you forget about, thinking about the other person. So the way to counter that, I mean, if we can agree that that is what it is, and that's a natural force in that will prevent that referral relationship from happening, a great way to decrease that, not to eliminate it, but to decrease it, is to stay fresh in their mind, and to do that by broadcasting to that contact. So I already talked about adding the contact to an email drip campaign, so they're going to get emails from you periodically, so that's a great way to stay fresh in their mind. What I would also tell you to do is to produce helpful content. If you're not doing this, then you might want to look at it, and you might not. This might be more of an executive or a business owner thing that can be done versus an individual salesperson thing. But you can produce a blog or ebooks or videos that are helpful content on the areas that you help. And then what you can do is you can post that content on your website, and then you can send emails out to your email list, which in the passive one will include your referral partners, and so they will get these updates with this content, which are helpful tips. Now remember, the referral partners are not prospects and might not ever fit as a prospect, but if your helpful email is more about how you help your prospects, then it can remind them of the help that you can offer the people that they know. So you're sending these emails out and then sharing that content also on social media, sharing that content on LinkedIn, which if you followed this process all the way through, then you would have connected with the contact on LinkedIn. So they're then getting, they're getting your email, they're seeing your messages on LinkedIn if they're ever on there. And so you're just doing these small things. Again, it's kind of like watering the seeds and putting sunlight on the plant. Not everything is going to hit, not all the rays of sunlight hit the plant, or all the drops of water get to the seed. But, for some of the seeds, they do. There is a connection, and that helps you to stay top of mind. So that's pretty much it, and that is all I had to share with you today. Let me just check the time real quick. We have a few minutes left. So let me just share with you a little bit more about us and what we offer. If you want more help, we offer basically the SMART sales system. And so SMART stands for sales messaging. Now, our sales training and our system is about helping teach you what to say and get you saying the best stuff. I mean, if you notice, what we talked about here today is about getting to events and how to work a room. But once you're in those conversations, it's critical to ask the right things and to not say certain things. And so, me personally, I grew up in my career as a salesperson working for very established professional quality organizations, and they never taught me what to say. They taught me about the product. And so it always became a passion of mine of how can I remind myself what to say, or what is the right thing to say, and through learning through trial and error and reading my own books and reading books, buying my own books, and learning the most through different sales training programs, I became passionate and I think somewhat of an expert on different things to say or not say. And so the core of our methodology here is making it crystal clear for you what to say and also how to respond to certain questions or objections. And then it's all about tactics for these things. So, some people think that it's all, strategy is what's important and tactics just kind of takes care of itself. I'm all about tactics. I want you to know exactly what to do when someone doesn't reply to your email, or what to do when you constantly get someone's voicemail box. So it's all about the tactics, and we'll teach you the tactics. And we'll teach you that through our sales methodology, which, by the way, you can access all on YouTube. And you can go, there's a playlist called the Smart Sales System Training Program. It's all out there for free. And the reason why it's out there for free, as well as free in our ebooks, and then there's a paid book, a paperback book that you can buy on Amazon, and most of it's out there for free because we want you to use our software, which I'll share with you what that is in a minute. We do deliver the training through recorded videos. We can deliver training live in this virtual format, and we also deliver it live in person, and we can customize our sales training as well. But we provide all of that, and it's all aligned with our software platform, which is basically an application that will help you to build your sales pitch, and by helping you to identify your benefits and your problems and the questions you should ask and more stuff. And basically the software will then link all of your details to create a library of call scripts and email templates and voicemail scripts. And we've recently released a CRM component to that, because all of our customers are using our call scripts to call prospects and whatnot. So it only makes sense that there's a CRM piece with your library of scripts, so that when you're using them, you have an easy place to log notes and log contacts. You don't have to use it, but it's there. And we also have email automation. So our library provides you with email templates, and you can actually send those emails directly through Sales Scripter. And the reason why you would want to do that is you get notified of opens and clicks, but more importantly, you can automate future emails. So you can send like a 6 email thread that's spread out over a period of 6 weeks, and you can automate all of that. So the last way that we help is through professional services, and that can either be consulting or coaching, but we work with businesses and help them to build their pitch and map out their sales processes and whatnot. And then we also work directly with salespeople or those that are on the front lines and help them with also building their pitch, or building action plans and improving things and making small changes. So that's pretty much it. Here's my contact info. If you have any questions or need anything else, feel free to shoot me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn.